It's a full house. It's been kind of a quiet summer, so I'm glad to see the audience here. So welcome. Good afternoon. Welcome to the October 20th regular meeting of Parksville City Council. The City of Parksville recognizes the people of the Coast Salish Nations and their traditional territory upon which we gather with gratitude. We have the consent agenda up first, folks, for the minutes of the council meeting held October 6, 2025, and also the approval of the council meeting agenda. Do I have a mover and a seconder for the recommendation? Moved by Councillor Wood, seconded by Councillor Grenz. Any errors or omission or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? And I'll point out for the public anyways, we have Councillor Gower and Councillor Fraz both appearing remotely. You can see them on the screens if you're in the gallery here. So welcome. Could you, gentlemen, could you give me a sound check? Give me a sound check if you would, Councillor Gower.
Mic test, 1, 2, 3. Mic test, 1, 2, 3.
100%. Thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Fraz.
Yeah, hello, good afternoon.
Thank you. Great. Okay. All things a go. After the council agenda, we have a presentation today. We have a presentation by the Urban Systems Limited for the Storm Drainage Master Plan. A presentation by A. Kempa of Urban Systems Limited to present an overview of the city's Storm Drainage Master Plan. And I believe you're appearing remotely.
Yes, that's right. Can you hear me? Do a sound check here just quickly.
I can hear you. If you just introduce yourself, I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Of course. Hi, everyone. My name's Alex Kempa. I'm with Urban Systems, and I'm excited to share this presentation on the Parksville Storm Drainage Master Plan. So give me a second. I'll hope that my screen pulls up here.
It's great. Well, welcome to our council meeting. I've been looking forward to this all weekend, I tell you.
Oh, good. We're excited to be bringing it here and having this discussion. So thank you.
Thanks, Alex. Go ahead. Anytime you're ready.
Thank you. So yeah, for this presentation today, we'll be looking at, we'll do a quick introduction on the project overall, looking at some of the core objectives and principles for the Drainage Master Plan. We'll do an overview of the analysis framework that informed our overall outcomes, and some of the core pillars of that analysis framework include looking at stormwater quality, and we completed some stormwater modeling. We engaged with MIVES, the Mid-Vancouver Island Habitat Enhancement Society. So we'll be hearing a bit about what came out of that discussion. And then we met with staff to look at operation and maintenance practices and identify opportunities for potential improvements, or also opportunities to kind of continue on for practices that are working well, to inform overall a list of outcomes and integrated recommendations. So at the outset of this project, staff identified a number of core objectives for this plan, those including summarizing the current stormwater conditions and practices in Parksville, developing an updated and accurate stormwater model, creating a capital program and development cost charge project list, to implement outcomes from regional studies such as the Regional District of Nanaimo. They have developed some watershed targets, to review and improve source control and treatment measures around stormwater quality, and then identify future study areas. So something key to pick up on here in the core objectives is that we're not just focusing on stormwater conveyance and flow. Traditionally, stormwater has thought to be kind of a pipe capacity exercise, but through listing the objectives, we really see a focus on more of what would be called an integrated stormwater management plan, where we're looking again, not just at pipe flow, but we're also wanting to consider measures such as stormwater quality, for example. So that really helped kind of guide us in terms of what this plan will cover, and that it's more integrated in nature. And so as we'll see through this presentation, we look at drainage infrastructure, environmental factors, bylaws and policy, as well as climate impacts and future land use. Again, at the outset, this work similar at the same time as setting some of those objectives. We also considered the principles guiding this work, and this kind of helps put a lens on, sets a lens for kind of the approaches that we'll be looking through, or again, the lens that we'll be looking through when to evaluate the information that we have in front of us. And so some of the principles that emerged, again, at the outset and throughout this work was to protect property while prioritizing the preservation and restoration of watershed hydrogeology, to adopt a whole system water balance approach that engages key stewardship stakeholders, where a water balance approach aims to mitigate adverse impacts from development by mimicking more natural processes or the natural water balance of a watershed. Another principle was to reframe stormwater as a valued resource as opposed to a nuisance, to improve watershed health by restoring natural conditions. So again, there's that kind of emphasis on naturalizing or mimicking the environment and preventing pollution. Our analysis framework, or the pillars that we looked at through this analysis, were in sort of 4 parts here. We looked at stormwater quality, stormwater modeling, engagement with MIVs, and then operations and maintenance. And so we'll dive into each of these 4 areas as part of our discussion today. So the first here is stormwater quality. So we compared stormwater quality data from 2018 to 2023 to applicable guidelines from around 14 sampling locations. That stormwater data included metals as well as bacterial data and was collected in part by MIVs, and in more recent years is being collected by the city of Parksville. Overall, the data for each sampling location was relatively limited. However, from the data that we did have, it was aligning with typical expectations for urban runoff and an urban landscape. And based on that limited amount of data that we had for each of the sampling locations, a large part of the recommendations from stormwater quality piece was largely focused on enhancing the monitoring program in order to build a stronger, more solid foundation to inform future decision-making around source control efforts or water quality treatment. Although, as we'll see a little bit later, with the help of MIVs, we were able to identify some locations for stormwater quality improvements. Next, and a big focus of this analysis, was the stormwater model and updating the stormwater model. And so this stormwater model looks at the minor system, so that's the underground system, the pipe network, and evaluating the capacity of that. But it also goes one step further and looks at the major system, which is also described as the overland system, and looking at drainage, basically behavior at the surface level. Here we can see that in Parksville, there's around 84.5 kilometers of stormwater mains, and our model also includes channels, culverts, and outfalls, but that stormwater main count becomes particularly important when we start to think about model results and what percentage of pipes are we looking to potentially upgrade here. And then our model was set up to run a number of different scenarios based on existing conditions. So if you think about the land use today and the existing topography, and then we also modeled future conditions. So that would have looked at future land use in order to change impervious factors. But then we also considered climate change and climate change impact from a storm perspective and what impact that has on pipes and pipe sizing, overland flows. And so with the model set up, when we run the model, this is a bit of a snapshot of what we're seeing in terms of results. So under the existing scenario, so that's again the conditions of Parksville today, about a little less than a kilometer of pipe, which represents less than 1% of Parksville system, is recommended for upgrades. And that equals about $2.4 million in spending. And then in the future scenario, the minor system upgrades account for about 4.3% of the network, or equivalent to about 3.6 kilometers of pipe and around 18.7 million in capital replacement. From the overland system perspective, so looking at the surface, we identified around 15 distributed areas across the city where stormwater breaches public corridors and enters private land. And that's significant or worth noting, mainly because with the major system, ideally stormwater flows would be kept and conveyed through the roadway. And so it's kind of those areas that we're looking at where stormwater goes out of the public right of way and then into and onto private lands, where again risk starts to get involved. And so those were the areas that we focused on. And as far as far as overland flows goes, in terms of those 15 locations that were identified, they pop up for different reasons. It is quite varied and distributed. So, for example, if it might depend on curb height. If the curb height isn't high enough, you're more likely to see again that deviation into private lots. Or, for example, it could be something like additional catch basins are needed because of the level of ponding that's happening. Among a number of other considerations. So it isn't necessarily consistent across the 15 distributed areas as to what is the cause, but that just provides a bit of a snapshot at some of the reasons we might be seeing again that variation from from public to private. So again, thinking back to the fact that we're trying to make this integrated and we're not just focusing on stormwater from a conveyance standpoint and from a modeling standpoint, we also want to consider other realities to help prioritize those list of improvements and help understand when those projects should happen or the timing of them. So some of the things that we also considered using the model results, we started to look at and think about the condition of those pipes. And so that was based on age relative to the anticipated design life of those pipes to help inform again whether they should be done sooner if it's both a condition concern or if they can wait perhaps a little bit longer. We also met with staff to review recent and planned roadwork projects. Again, if it was a stormwater main that was proposed for upgrade and it's underlying a recent road improvement, then it might make sense to defer that project to later with monitoring to make sure it doesn't become an increased risk that can't be deferred any further. Or on the flip side, if we know that there's a planned road project coming up and there's a stormwater main that has been identified for upgrade, it makes sense to align those two projects from a capital perspective. So that was another lens in which helped prioritize the list of upgrades from, again, a modeling perspective. And then, as we'll see shortly, we had the chance to engage with MIVIs, mainly from identifying opportunities from an environmental or watershed standpoint for improvements, and to see, again, if there were any areas where our model was indicating that upgrades were needed, and if that aligned with any of the opportunities MIVIs had come forward and suggested, again, more from an environmental lens. So using those kind of considerations, a great example of how a priority may have shifted would have been there's two minor system or pipe projects that have been flagged by the model. However, there are planned road works above them on Stamford Ave East and Jensen Ave West. And so as a result of those roadwork projects, we've prioritized the replacement of the stormwater infrastructure sooner, which we'll see in our financial forecast coming up here. So with those kind of priorities in mind, we started to look at how the stormwater system is funded in Parksville. And so there's two main contributors. There's the parcel tax that provides funding to both stormwater capital, operations, administrative, and supervisory activities. And then secondly, there's the capital reserves that inform stormwater capital alone. It doesn't contribute to, say, operations, for example. It is worth noting, though, that the capital reserves, it's a set funding envelope for the year for linear infrastructure projects across the board, so not just stormwater. However, there's no set amount of the reserve dedicated to stormwater projects. So for the purposes of this analysis, we've assumed that amount dedicated to stormwater is 25%. Now, this isn't uncommon to Parksville, but historically, stormwater capital projects in the city have been addressed more reactively or alongside road upgrades as opposed to driven by the stormwater project itself. And again, that's not uncommon with other communities. Traditionally, it's pretty common that stormwater projects kind of get the funding that remains in the bucket, but as in more recent years with kind of community sentiment changing around stormwater, and as we're noticing more intense storm events, there's an increasing both urgency and recognition to take more proactive measures around stormwater management, especially the need for dedicated funding to stormwater. So when we look at the minor capital budget, which reflects basically that's a designation that is to provide funding for capital projects less than $50,000. And then the capital budget, again, largely influenced and informed by the capital reserves. We see that by 2046, just over $2 million in stormwater funding for capital projects only. And then in red, this shows the outcomes of our modeling work and the prioritization of, again, minor system projects only. And so we can see that in the first 10 years, that the capital budget exceeds minor system infrastructure renewal. This means that there's opportunities to build reserves, direct funds towards other opportunistic stormwater projects, such as, say, water quality, or other integrated recommendations, along with unforeseen stormwater projects. Between the years of 2036 and 2040, the capital needs start to exceed project budgets, signaling the need to potentially pull from reserves, direct more funding towards stormwater upgrades, the need to potentially borrow or defer projects. And then in the last 5 years, we once again start to see the capital budgets exceed the capital needs from a minor system perspective, which again allows more flexibility in terms of how that money is spent. Once again, this is just providing a bit of a snapshot at minor system capital upgrades. It doesn't include operation and maintenance cost or any water quality initiatives. It's simply to look at the minor system. And again, this is all contingent on that assumption that 25% of capital reserves are dedicated to stormwater. And we flag this just because this figure helps to emphasize the importance of having dedicated stormwater funding and the importance of it gradually increasing to align with the emerging needs, especially as we've seen from the stormwater model as we get into the future scenario in the future years. So that kind of the last 20 years, we start to see more stormwater projects emerge than, say, in the first 10 years. In a similar vein, I think it's also maybe worth just mentioning what we're seeing in other communities as part of stormwater funding, and that many communities are starting to look at having a dedicated stormwater utility. And that some of that's just exploration and thinking about what that might look like. So for example, whether it's a flat fee, a tiered fee, if it's based on impervious area of a lot, the size of the lot. It's basically overall geared to help improve finances and environmental goals around stormwater, but also add an equity lens to stormwater funding where it's kind of the user pays approach. And then the third pillar that we looked at was this engagement piece and opportunities identified by MIVIS, the Mid-Vancouver Island Habitat Enhancement Society. We had the privilege to engage them at the outset of this project to better understand their desired objectives for the project and also to, again, identify site-specific opportunities for the city's consideration through this plan. Many of the principles and objectives that we heard from MIVIS aligned with those that we shared at the outset of this presentation, including the desire to take a system-wide and water-balanced approach, which means basically taking into account broader watershed impacts, not just the conveyance aspect of stormwater. They also emphasized an importance of getting water back into natural hydraulic pathways. As far as priority areas go, one of the key opportunities for improvement that MIVIS identified was improving conditions to Shelley Creek. I'm sure, as you know, this is one of the last salmon-bearing streams in the city. These opportunities primarily focused around addressing low flow concerns in the creek and also improving the water quality that enters the creek. Water quality opportunities were also identified near the Englishman River estuary. So that's identified on this map by the number 5 marker. And so overall, in taking into account these considerations, we looked at them alongside the stormwater quality data and the modeling results to help inform a list of integrated recommendations. Again, not just focused on stormwater conveyance, but also the broader watershed context at all. We were also happy to have the opportunity to meet with MIVIs to review a draft of this drainage plan, which we're happy to report landed well, and just would like to take this opportunity to thank them once again for participating in this project. And then the last pillar that we looked at was operation and maintenance. We had a chance to meet with operations staff to better understand existing practices and opportunities for enhancement from the operation and maintenance side of things. And overall, it was really great to hear that the majority of practices were working very well, and that a few opportunities have been identified for advancement or overall improvement. And so those include the continuation of the CCTV program, which inspects both stormwater but also sewer pipes using video inspection to help get a better understanding of the condition of these pipes. That means that as that data quality improves, rather than relying on age-based information to inform condition, we can use data that we have more confidence in to inform condition-based or condition-triggered renewal projects. And then staff are also working on integrating that information into GIS, which makes it a little bit more readily available to use. So that's great to see that happening, and that it should be continued. Ditch infill education was an item that came up multiple times throughout this project, and ultimately the purpose of this task here would be to inform residents of their responsibility in maintaining the frontage, while also highlighting the consequences of unauthorized ditch infill. This is, I think, an issue that's been noted a couple times throughout the city, where, infilling the ditch has significant impacts on drainage function that some homeowners might not be fully aware of. So there's an opportunity for further education in that regard. Next was to develop a culvert replacement program. So that includes condition inspections of the city's culverts and identifying when and how much they will cost to replace. Installing flow monitors to capture flow data of stormwater. That's great practice and also helps to inform future model updates and improve the accuracy of those models. And then the last item here was to develop an outreach program for the maintenance of private stormwater facilities. This isn't a challenge unique to Parksville. Many communities rely on private stormwater facilities for the functioning of their overall drainage system, but without appropriate education or processes in place, you can't guarantee that those private stormwater facilities are continuing to operate as designed. So there's some education opportunity there to make sure that folks know the importance of maintaining those facilities and what that maintenance might look like. So when we bring those four core pillars together at the end of this work, we were able to provide the city of Parksville with a robust citywide stormwater model that's reflective of both the underground, so the pipe network, as well as the overland system. A list of integrated recommendations that work to balance both technical, regulatory, environmental, and community priorities. The tools and data to support confident decision-making, and then a list of opportunities and areas for further exploration and study. And we're happy to report that the recommendations and findings of this analysis are already being applied at the city. And so the capital recommendations are being considered alongside other city priorities, such as those that emerge from the sewer and water master plan, to inform the city's overall capital plan. The scope of work for upcoming capital projects, such as road projects, are being revisited to account for stormwater recommendations. The stormwater monitoring practices, specifically related to water quality, are being reviewed to help bridge the gaps that were identified through this work. And then when the next DCC update comes, the city will be able to rely on this work. We identified a handful of DCC eligible projects that will help in the next update to that DCC program. So with that, that's everything that I have as far as the presentation goes today, but would be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks very much, Alex. That was worth waiting for. Yeah, well done. Thank you. Just a couple points I'd like to make, if I could, at this point. This speaks to our infrastructure management, whereby we like to build reserves so we don't get any surprises. So this is what one of the guiding principles of why we have the storm water management system in place now. I appreciate a couple of points that you made, Alex, especially regarding the coordination with our departments, with pending road improvement projects, tying them together, where the stormwater is going to be replaced at the same time, and the priorities on those ones that we've already identified as road improvement projects. So I appreciate that. And also appreciate you mentioned your engagement with MIVUS, which is particularly important now with, with climate change and so forth. If we can work together with the environmental organizations to further enhance our rivers and streams and creeks in the area by proper management, that's a big deal as well. So thank you for that. The only question I have, Alex, at this time, I'm not sure whether this was in your scope. Were there any findings of any cross connection of in between stormwater and sewer pipes in the city of Parksville area, or was that not under your scope of inspection?
We didn't look at that as part of the scope of inspection. We did look at more from a water quality perspective of just looking at more of septic systems and where those are located and their potential influence on stormwater quality, but not from a connection standpoint.
Okay, that's fine. I know our engineering department have looked at it and studied it. I was just wondering if there's any surprises that popped up out of it. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Council, I'm going to let the floor open for questions. Councillor Grenz, start us off.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and happy birthday. I will through you to our delegation. Alex, thank you so much for the presentation. Thank you also to MIVUS for providing some valuable input on this process. And one of the things you talked about was the next steps in terms of other communities using water infiltration as part of the local stormwater management piece. That was sort of one of your final points on there. I'm wondering if you can speak a little bit to what you're seeing other communities do with their policies to encourage homeowners and landowners to see more of the stormwater dealt with on their own property and then infiltrated into the ground directly. What are their best practices around that, policies that you've seen that have been working to do that? And maybe what are your thoughts generally on how to see more of the water not end up in a pipe and end up back in the ground?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for the question. I think the first piece starts off with kind of the trigger as to when would that be needed. So that would be something that would be specified in, say, a subdivision standard or subdivision specifications. In the case of Parksville, into that bylaw, that would essentially trigger when a private facility might be needed to, whether it's retain or detain stormwater. For example, setting a specific release rate, or many communities will try to adopt that principle of pre-development flows need to equal post-development flows, and whatever kind of means you need to do that. Communities will sometimes outline a number of different mechanisms that could be used on a private site to be able to achieve that. So whether you would have one or not, would kind of, that trigger would be at included in that bylaw. But I'd say one of the challenges that many communities are facing is the after it gets installed, of how do we make sure that these systems are functioning properly. And I wouldn't say that there's a silver bullet in terms of a solution. Education is definitely a big one, and having homeowners fully understand why these are needed and the impact or influence it's having on the stormwater system. And then the other one, this is definitely more administrative and more cumbersome also for the property owner, but would be showing some level of proof that it's either being maintained or if it's operating as designed. But again, that's more administrative, and I think I haven't seen a community implement that, but it's definitely been part of discussion as to how to tackle that piece again after they've been implemented. How do we make sure that they're doing what they said they would do?
Thank you. Maybe just quick follow-up. All right, thank you for that. Yeah, I think we do a pretty good job in Parksville in encouraging for new developments, rain gardens and water infiltration and stormwater management within on the site. So I take your point though on what happens after that, and wonder if maybe you mentioned a stormwater utility. Is that some way to do that, or how would that work? As if the utility is maybe looking at existing homes, existing properties, as well as new ones?
Definitely a good question. A good one that might be worth looking to is the city of Victoria. They have it's their stormwater utility is almost situated like a, don't want to say a rewards program, but if you have certain characteristics that your property makes, that influences the fee that you would pay. So I don't have the figure off on the top of my head, but say, for example, if you had a rain garden, then your fee might look a little bit different than, say, a neighbor that doesn't have any stormwater infrastructure or stormwater benefiting facilities on their property. So that's one way that it can get integrated or considered, is if you were to structure, say, a stormwater utility fee around what's on site.
Anybody else, council? Councilor Beal, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you very much for the presentation. I know that myself, back when I was campaigning, the topic of trying to keep water in the ground came up time and time again. So I know there's a lot of interest in that. I do understand that our own bylaws use the word may and not must in terms of that, so that's sometimes problematic. I was curious as well about the water quality, and you mentioned that from your consultation with MIVI that Shelley Creek was an area of particular interest and concern, but also the water quality in the estuary. So I'm wondering how and what do you measure when you're reporting out on water quality, and are there in terms of all the areas that you did look at, is there a listing or a rating of outfalls or other areas with concern for water quality, and how does that fit into your plan or recommendations for the city?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for the question. So the primary substances that were looked at here would be metals and bacteria, so such as E. coli. One of maybe the key points I'll focus on with the Englishman River estuary is just recognizing also that discharge, the volume of flows that are directed there. And so there's in part recognition, the volume of flows combined with the area that it's discharging into and its sensitive nature. That just kind of triggers an kind of automatic potential opportunity for stormwater quality improvements. And then also just recognizing the sensitivities of Shelley Creek in particular, that there could be benefit there to also improving stormwater quality. But again, given the limited data that we had access to as part of this assignment, there is opportunity for improved data collection to further support stormwater quality improvements, but also to determine what those might look like. For example, if it's a rain garden versus another proprietary type of system.
Go ahead, Mary.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through to our delegation. I'm also curious, is a topic of gray water and gray water systems being used in residential residences. Does that come up, and do you see that anywhere in other urban centers?
It's definitely it's not been considered in the works that I've done or cross paths with yet. No, we're not quite at that point yet.
Oh, okay, thank you very much, yeah. Councillor Gore, go ahead, sir.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Through you to our delegation, thank you, Alex, for the presentation. And I must admit, I really enjoyed reading the report. It was a bit lengthy for me, but I still persevered, and I enjoyed different recommendations that you had. First of all, I want to thank Mivis for the incredible input in this study, and our engineering city staff. I think it was really nice to see how engaged the staff was throughout this process, and of course to Urban Systems for preparing this very holistic and to be honest, very progressive project that you took on with recommendations talking about the water balance approach. So I was quite impressed with us looking forward. As you mentioned, the storm water, not as a nuisance, but as a resource that we can utilize. And I think Councillor already mentioned about the importance of keeping it in the ground. I wonder if you can speak a little bit about how realistic is it when we talk about the ground infiltration and the pre-development levels, try to bring the infiltration to the pre-development levels. But as we are seeing in Parksville and elsewhere, more and more compact housing, and with the province asking for even higher density on single-family lots, so we see that surface area, the covered area becomes more, and the impervious area is also becoming larger. So I was wondering how practical is it to even look at something like, you know, the roof leaders that you talked about, you know, disconnected so we can bring the water back into the ground. It can be quite challenging from a developer's point of view. So are there any suggestions that you have seen in higher density development areas that can be utilized?
Sure. I think maybe in two parts is kind of thinking about the private lot aspect and then the public space aspect. So for example, I've also I think if you wanted to say like Parksville walking the talk of looking at opportunities for on the public side to also infiltrate into the ground. So I think it was Corefield South where there was opportunities to potentially renaturalize pipe systems. So as much as I think there is the opportunity on the private side, there is a responsibility of probably Parksville doing the same and seeing where those opportunities are, thinking about pipe upgrades in that way of where there are opportunities in public lands to do the same. But yeah, with respect to the private the private lands using whether it's detention or retention facilities would be increasing. So it might be less naturalized, meaning like you said, with limitations of space, a rain garden might be harder and more of a proprietary solution is more likely to be the direction with higher density. Yeah.
You want to follow up, Councillor Gore? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. It's a separate question. I'm willing to wait. If somebody has first-time questions, I can.
Go ahead. Okay, thanks, Councillor Gore. We'll go to Councillor Martin. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Alex, for this presentation. I wanted to mention, when I was thinking about running for council, I came to these meetings and I watched how things were being done, the budgets, and this infrastructure thing did come up then. And when I was knocking on doors right away. So I thought I better find out from planning and what's going on here, besides what I saw from the surface. And every question I had about infrastructure and all the things that I had to follow up and find out about, I got very full disclosure of the infrastructure, the situation, how things were in our community. And so therefore, I have, none of us are perfect, but I felt that it was, things are being looked after. Our money and the citizens should be, feel confident that we have professionals that are looking after things. So I would say that I did phone a few times bugging them. I didn't know the answers to answer the people. So I just wanted to pass that on, Alex. And this report reaffirms what I was learning 4 years ago, and it's very good. And thank you very much. I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Councillor Wood, go ahead.
Thanks, Mayor, and happy birthday. Thank you, Alex, for the presentation. When we think of the Victoria Rewards Program, what are the pros and cons that you've seen so far with that program? Because it seems like there'd probably be some opportunities there. Thanks.
Yep. I haven't worked with it too integratedly, but I know that from more of the city's perspective, and perhaps maybe just highlighting different ways that a community could go about thinking about a dedicated stormwater utility and the different format that that could take would be probably just looking at also like administrative effort and what that looks like. Obviously, with the rewards program where you're maybe needing a list of 10 or if you have 5 out of 10 of these aspects and you qualify for this fee or at this rate. So that there might be some administrative complexities. On the flip side, a pro is that of those lists of things that the community would want to see, it incentivizes private lots to go out and do that, which benefits stormwater. So you kind of have this incentivizing, but then also from the city's end, I imagine a more administratively complex model. On the flip side, other avenues that I've seen communities explore would be, say, if it was a tiered rate based on impervious area. So the incentive there would be to increase or try to maximize your pervious area to allow water to infiltrate into the ground as much as possible. And then you would likely pay a cheaper rate than, say, a lot that's fully paved with no pervious area. So that kind of incentivizes the property owners to, again, kind of follow that natural approach to stormwater management, or more natural approach to stormwater management. So yeah, there's different pros and cons, definitely largely around incentive based, and then trying to create that equity piece of the person that has a fully impervious lot pays more because they contribute more to the stormwater system. So there's definitely many things to think about there.
Thank you. I think we've covered our first time speakers. Councillor Gore, if you have a follow-up, go ahead, sir.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Alex, I have a question about the quality of the water that you mentioned and touched on. And I did read about the urban pollutants that are common and were also in the Parksville stormwater. The ones of concern obviously were the bacteria that happen to be going into our ocean, which is also a very famous spot for not just the residents but the tourists who come and enjoy the summers. So I wonder if there were any recommendations, and I apologize if I missed those in the report, to prevent those contaminants from getting into our stormwater. And the other ones that you talked about, the metals, etc., like copper and stuff that are higher than the safe limits. So I wonder if there is any recommendations, not just at the end, but also at the source level, that we can prevent these pollutants from getting into our stormwater.
Yeah, thanks for the question. As mentioned, with the availability of some of the data, more data will help inform the overall recommendations and the overall findings. From the E. coli perspective or the bacterial perspective, I know that staff are also starting or continuing to monitor caffeine levels in stormwater quality, which can help trace, for example, the connection between E. coli levels and like human source, for example, to, again, that's trying to figure out what the root cause or where is this coming from. And so it would be more initiatives on that end of, once there's adequate stormwater quality data, of doing those kind of investigations upstream to help try and determine what the source is. For example, one of the things that we looked at was looking at where the septic systems are likely within the community to see if there were any connections there. But that wasn't very revealing, meaning that we weren't really pointing to the septic systems as part of this analysis as a contributing factor for E. coli in particular. But it would be doing those kind of steps to figure out, okay, where is this, trying to determine where overall is this coming from, and then whether it's following up with those properties if you're able to identify it as a specific property, or implementing additional measures to help reduce those overall concentrations.
Thank you. So to be clear, there's nothing to be alarmed that we are not going to shut down our beaches anytime soon for public use, correct?
That I think is run by the I think the regional district there as far as beach closures. So I wouldn't be able to say absolutely not, but we would need more data to inform a specific answer on that front. But I don't think historically, I might have to look for staff for that there's been a concern at this rate as far as beach closures. I'm not aware of those. So I don't think that things are getting worse at this standpoint. So maybe I'll leave it there at that.
Are you finished, Councilor Gore? Are you okay? Great, thank you. Okay, Council, any further questions at this time? No. Thank you very much. So thank you once again for your presentation, Alex. It's well done. And we look forward to working with our staff and making sure a lot of these recommendations get followed and in a timely fashion. And we appreciate all your effort. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Council, we have another presentation today. We have one delegation from the Parksville Community Center Society regarding an update on activities. Presentation by Dwayne Round of the Parksville Community Center Society to provide an update on activities at the 223 Mill Street facilities and to outline the future of a recycle depot operated by PCCS at 1080 Industrial Way. Mr. Dwayne Round, come on down. And just before you start, Dwayne, there's a couple seats of anybody that's standing over behind the staff. I don't believe they're going to be utilized, but do we have any staff that's going to? So if you want to take a load off your feet, you can, there's a couple empty seats on the side over here if you like to play a little musical chairs. Okay, here we go. Dwayne, welcome. Nice to see you again.
Point of order. Sorry. Just push the, yeah.
Good afternoon, Mayor O'Brien, Parksville councilors and senior staff. I have a hard act to follow there. I'm serious. I found that kind of interesting, believe it or not. Thank you for this opportunity to appear and speak with you today on the success of the Parksville Community Center and the Parksville Recycle Depot, which is being made possible by the many great volunteers that have contributed. I believe all of you know me, but for anyone that is in the audience or watching online, my name is Dwayne Round. I am the current president of the Parksville Community Center Society. The society has been operating a community center in Parksville since 1949, and many of you attended our celebration last year of 75 years in the community. My experience with the Parksville Community Center goes back to the 90s when I called bingo for the Parksville Lions in the first hall in the Parksville Community Park. I was involved with the team headed by Ken Williamson that formed to find a new hall, which they did at the old school on Jensen Avenue. And I worked with the group to fundraise, renovate the old school, and operate as the second community hall under the Parksville Community Center Society, serving on the board for many years as president for 3 of them. I have worked on many projects in Parksville with all levels of governments, groups, volunteers, and individuals to help make our community a better place to live. I strongly believe in partnering with other nonprofits businesses, and organizations to achieve success. I do not say these things to brag, but to show that I have experience in bringing people together for a successful result. The Parksville Community, the Parksville Community Center opened at 223 Mill Street, our third community hall on May 1st, 2022. And many volunteers came out to make this happen, and I thank them for their hard work and dedication. The success of this hall and all the others is completely thanks to the efforts of all the great volunteers that work to provide a gathering space for community groups, individuals, businesses, governments, and service groups. The Parksville Community Center has a 30-space childcare center operated by Happy Hummingbird Childcare, and we are glad to be able to provide space to the Mid-Island Elder College so they can continue to offer general interest courses and lectures to mature adults. There is a BHA certified kitchen to prepare food for the general public, numerous rooms with a large hall that can accommodate 118 people. Many groups use the PCC for their weekly meetings and events, such as the Parksville Rotary Club, Grandmothers to Grandmothers, Weight Watchers, Girl Guides, and many more, which I have handed out a list of recent activities. As you can see, there's many. Our booking coordinator, Judy, is getting busier every day, trying to accommodate every request in the 9 large rooms we have, along with our boardroom and 4 offices. She deserves a lot of credit for our success. She has been amazing. Where are you, Judy? Where's Judy? Parksville Community Center was the local district electoral office for both the last BC provincial election and the last federal Canada election. The groups and organizations, many from out of town that use the PCC, bring an economic contribution to our local businesses when they buy food, fuel, lodging, and other services. In May of 2023, the Parksville Community Center Society entered a contract with Recycle BC to hold bi-weekly recycling depots at 1080 Industrial Way, which we continue to do at present. And again, this would not be possible without the support of many wonderful volunteers that give their time to help us with the collection of plastic, glass, and styrofoam packaging, cardboard, and paper. And I know many of you attend at a regular basis to bring your stuff, and I appreciate that. In 2024, the Parksville Recycle Depot collected over 95 tons of material for recycling, keeping it out of landfill and the environment. The public has been grateful for this service after not having a local option for two and a half years. The public and volunteers are passionate about doing what they can to recycle, as they know that every little bit helps. Our current contract with Recycle BC is to the end of 2025, and we are already in discussion with them to continue the service into 2026. Excuse me. And we are working to expand the service with the collection of other materials and to have the facility open on more days of the week. Our goal is to eventually purchase 223 Mill Street to ensure it stays as a community center that continues to provide the community with a gathering space that is sorely needed in our community now and well into the future. The property is currently zoned public institutional, so it meets the Parksville zoning bylaw for use as a community center. Is well situated close to the downtown core and on the bus route. The Parksville, Parksville Community Center recently renewed its lease for another 2 years with the current owner of the property and has an agreement in principle to purchase the property before the end of the 2 years. The Parksville Community Center has already raised $150,000 towards the purchase and continues to seek grants and fundraise. We are in talks with a mortgage provider to provide funds for the purchase and have calculated that the mortgage after deposit would cost less than the current lease payments. We are not at this time asking the city of Parksville for any funding, though We would certainly not turn it down if council was so generous to offer. What we are asking for is cooperation between our society and the city of Parksville to help us be even more successful, and that we are able to ensure that the Parksville Community Center and Parksville Recycle Depot remain an important asset for the citizens of Parksville to continue to enjoy. Thank you for inviting the Parksville Community Center Society to speak today, and for listening to what the Society's board and our many volunteers believe is the wonderful story that is the Parksville Community Center at 223 Mill Street. I would be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Thanks very much, Dwayne, and thank you to yourself and all of your volunteers for what you do for our community. Most appreciative from the city of Parksville. Collaboration with yourself has been in the past to continue with the city of Parksville. Will be those letters of support that are so needed, for your grant applications. We will continue to do that as requested, as we have in the past. So you can count on us to back you up when needed. So I'm going to open the floor to Councillor Wood. Go ahead.
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks, Dwayne, for the presentation, and thanks so much to all the volunteers that help you do what you guys do. I was just at the recycling depot on Saturday. With regards to renewing your contract with Recycle BC, and if you were going to expand, how does that impact, say, the Rotary Club, who already does that on Saturdays? I bring some of my stuff to those guys, and then I bring some of my stuff to you guys out at the industrial park. How would that impact the Rotary Club, or is it some sort of combined effort? Thanks.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Wood. At this time, we do have no plans to be collecting bottles the same as the Rotary. If we do become more of a permanent recycle depot, which is what Recycle BC wants, we would have that option. But at this time, we have no plans for it. The work the Rotary does there takes a lot of people. It's a lot of work, and we are not prepared to add that onto the existing products, though we will be looking at adding more recycled products like heavier plastics and metal and maybe electronics and that type of thing.
Oh, okay. Councillor Gora, go ahead, sir.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. And through you, I would like to thank Dwayne for coming before council. I want to thank the board of the PCCS and all the volunteers that I cannot see from my screen at this time, but I'm guessing most of you are present in the chambers. So thank you for all the work that you folks do, which is much appreciated. I have been, as you know, to the site, 223 Mills, quite a few times. I've really enjoyed the different events, the public gatherings, and it's really refreshing to see the enthusiasm of all your volunteers that have made that a special place. So thank you for that. I know you talked about perhaps purchasing that property. I wonder if you have any vision for what that site would look like. Would it stay the same as is, or do you plan on building? Just want to have some. Do you have any ideas? Do you want to share with us? Whether it's some nonprofit housing, some more childcare spaces? Do you plan on redeveloping that land? Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Gore. At this time, we have a 1 acre property with 10,000 square feet of covered area. We've been doing lots of renovations. We've been getting some grants from the PQ Community Foundation for putting in heat pumps. We're replacing flooring, constantly upgrading the facility. That's a major enough job right now to try to purchase the property as far as adding on to it. We don't currently have a vision for that. Is it a possibility down the road? Sure. But currently we're concentrating on securing the building for the people that are using it, and also to expand on the recycle depot.
Councillor Beal, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through to Dwayne. Thank you very much for coming today and for all the volunteers. I really appreciate what the society has done, and it's really a testament to, well, to the enthusiasm, but also to the need. There's a real demonstrated need in the community. The space is well used. I know that firsthand, having been to courses with Elder College, as well as working on elections, as well as some other events there over the past few years. And although we do have the Jensen Center next door, we also recognize that that space, the type of space that's available there is quite different from the type of space that's offered, that's available at the community center. And between the communities, the Parksville Community Center on Mill Street, there's Shelley Hall, which is also very busy, and we're a growing community. I mean, these spaces are really needed for the community, and we really don't know what's going to be happening with Craig Street Commons in the future, so that may or may not be adding extra pressure. So I appreciate you coming forward and having that wonderful vision of working towards buying the property. So you know, I commend you and the society for the work that you're doing. I don't think I have any questions right now. I will tell you, Scout's honor, I am a Scout. Some people know that. That pop-up is written on my home calendar for every other week, you know, going into the, so I might not be down there personally, but the stuff from my place definitely gets delivered there. So that has really filled a void in the community as well, and is greatly appreciated.
Yeah, thank you. If I may respond, Mayor O'Brien. Thank you very much, Councillor Bill, and for your support over the years with the community center. You're right. There is a use for the Jensen Center and the Shelley Hall. They have their own type of purpose. I think we feel a big void that they don't cover by having nine different rooms. We can entertain a lot of different groups at the same time. So we have, as you can see by the list I handed out, we have many groups using the facility, BHA, the RDN, all kinds of different groups. We'd like to see the city of Parksville utilizing our center more and helping us there. And I'd also like to let you know that I was also in Scouts, and we do have the Girl Guides helping us with the recycle depots, and then we make a donation to them. So 12, 13-year-old girls are the future of recycling in Parksville.
Councillor Martin, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Dwayne, for the presentation. What I find really exciting and rewarding is the continuation of our volunteerism in Parksville. You talked about Parksville and the way it is. And when I go to the recycling or any place I go, there's a smiley face, there's all these people. It's unbelievable, really, when you think about it. And I appreciate everything that they do. And I have no questions. I just wanted to commend you and your team for what they do. But it sort of reminds me a little bit about Parksville too. You know, the way it is around here. It's lovely and we appreciate it. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Councillor Martin. And yes, we do have wonderful volunteers. They're very passionate about recycling. They work together well. They're happy with what they do, and they're happy with their contribution that they're making to our community. So I will definitely pass that on to the volunteers that are not in the audience here tonight. Thank you.
Councillor Grant, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to our delegation. Dwayne, thank you for all your work in the community over many years. I know you've been involved in lots of things over the years. You're definitely a get her done kind of guy. And I appreciate that about how you just roll up your sleeves and take on some big challenges. With regard, I guess I'll also shout out to the recycling, which has been a huge, important thing for our community to be able to have a place to recycle things that I really, really hate throwing myself in the garbage. So thank you for doing that. With regard to the capital acquisition, can you maybe give a little bit more details around, I guess the main thing is the fundraising goal that you're going to have for in the next 2 years to acquire that property?
Yeah, well, speaking to, bankers, retired bankers that happen to volunteer with us, we realize that we're going to need probably between $350,000 and $600,000, which sounds like a large amount of money, but I previously, worked on building Huswick Place and Kingsley Manor, and those were both $5.5 million projects. So that's the reason I state my experience. I do have experience on putting these things together and working together with others. And as I said before, it's important to work with all the groups in the community, different locals, levels of government and organizations and also businesses. I worked with the first committee that raised $350,000 for the Jensen Hall. And that was done through their hard work out there, fundraising and putting on events to raise money. And we hope to repeat that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a big number, but not a considering the significance of that property and the location of that seems like a good number, then good target to go for. And as a hub for the community, and the word community being in the word community center, I do want to recognize the sense of community you help foster with that center. And thank you for your work in that.
Yeah, thank you very much. And if I just may finish up with, yeah, and it's the groups that use it too. They're appreciative. They're happy. We're operated by mostly volunteers, so it's a self-serve community center. So people enter, set up, tear down, clean up, and leave. And so and they bring that community spirit with them. And with the current shutdown of the Legion for the last 3 months, we've been helping them out. We've been providing space for their cribbage games, their crib games, their canasta games, and all that. And we've been giving them a very good comparable rate to what they had to be able for them to continue on having those. So you're right. It's all about community.
Any further questions? Councilor Gore, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Dwayne, if you can tell us if you had an opportunity to connect with like our local MLA or the MP for support in possibly acquiring that property. And second, I would like to ask, when we spoke on the phone, you mentioned about lack of recognition from the city for the work that you do. So I was wondering if you could speak a little bit about that request, that perhaps we could share what PCCS does either on the city website or on our social media. So you have that presence and support from the city of Parksville. If you could speak to that, please.
Thank you, Councillor Gore. I think I heard a number of questions there. I hope I can remember all of them to answer. But I would firstly start off by, it's not me. I'm just one piece in the cog that runs both of these facilities. And yes, I've been in discussion with MP Gore Johns for probably 2 years now. He's been very helpful. And working with him to see what kind of grant funding there is available federally. And MLA Stephanie Higginson will be visiting the facility next week to have a tour of the facility and discuss what we are doing and what we're providing in the communities. Have I forgot any part of your question?
Yes, thank you. That was my first question. Yes, thanks. And the second question about the recognition of your work on city social media or city website.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things that the city could quite easily do if they were willing to put a link on their website to our website. That would be much appreciated. We have a Facebook page with over 1,700 people now. It keeps growing every week. We work through social media because that's the most economical way to get the word out, to advertise and let people know what you're doing in the community. So we're almost every day we're posting on social media to tens of thousands of people in the community on all the different social media sites out there.
Thank you. Seeing no further questions, Dwayne, thanks again for your attendance today and your explanation. It was very informative and appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor O'Brien, and congratulations on your 49th birthday today.
Thank you. The grant may be coming sooner. Good for you. Thanks, Dwayne. And thank you for everybody in the audience in support of the community center. Appreciate your efforts. Just wait a moment for the room to clear for those people appearing remotely. Council, for our next feature on the agenda, we have one report on the agenda from the fire chief, Mark Norris, anyways, for the 2023 and 2024 Parksville Volunteer Fire Department Annual Report. Chief Norris, anytime you're ready to go, just one moment, if you would, please, Chief Norris. I think we're just going to close the door. Yeah, it's Chris got it. Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Chief Norris. You good to go? Thank you.
Thank you,
Welcome.
Mayor. Pleased to present the 2023 and 2024 annual reports. I just have a short presentation for council. If I'm, there we go. Just quickly, Parksville Fire Rescue, we're a multi-hazard fire rescue service. We're declared as full service under the provincial regulations. We're a composite service, so a blend of predominantly volunteer paid on call members and some career members. We're providing service to the city of Parksville and some contract areas of electoral area G of the regional district in Nanaimo from one fire station at 160 Jensen Avenue West, and services provided. Well, I mentioned that we're providing service to RD and Area G. Also, we have 8 agreements with our neighbors to back each other up should we have a large incident. This is a map showing our fire protection area. It's about 25, just over 25 square kilometers. So it's about 12 kilometers long and a couple kilometers wide from the water up to the inland highway, more or less. And you can see the yellow and blue sections are the RDN areas, and then the white section in the middle is the city of Parksville. That's approximately, depending on which stats you look at, somewhere between 19,459 and 20,804 in population. And we estimate a seasonal influx, campsites, hotels, short-term rentals, all that sort of stuff at around 8,000. And then we have an estimated number of residential units combined at 9,800. This is a quick look at how the department's laid out. I report to the CAO of the city, and we have a couple of assistant chiefs, 4 fire rescue service technicians, firefighters. We have an admin assistant, and we try to keep up to 44 volunteer members. In 2023, we were able to recruit 11 members, 3 of them with previous experience. 9 members left in that year. Also, members leave for various reasons. Often they move for work, or mostly they move for work, or the fire service doesn't fit their lifestyle. 2024, we recruited 9 new members, and we had 2 with previous experience and 4 members left the department. So we were actually coming out ahead both those years, which is a little bit unusual lately, but positive. One note I would say on recruiting and retention is that we put in place some things to recruit. We've upped the hourly rate and we've put in place some benefits, but housing in the core of the city has also helped to bring some folks closer to the fire station and decide to volunteer with us, which is also positive. We have 2 facilities. We have the fire station a block from here. 160 Jensen Avenue. We have a training center at 1159 Franklin's Doll Road. And we have a fleet of apparatus. As you can see there, we just put some replacement dates. The next apparatus that's up for replacement is 2027, which is the water tender. And we will start speccing that apparatus later this year, as it's about a 2-year wait time now for apparatus. Probably the major thing that we do is, well, the reason we exist is to deliver service out there. And in 2023, we had a almost 22% increase in our calls for service, which was the largest increase I've ever seen year over year. And it backed off in 2024 just slightly by about 5%, but still we remain fairly busy. This year, we're trending right in between those two numbers currently. So right in that same area, just under 800 calls a year. You can see that our 10-year average increase is about 36 calls per year, and our 5-year increase currently is 53 calls per year. Here's a little look at the breakdown. So the one on the left shows responses by zone. So 76% of our calls are in the city of Parksville. 119% are in the regional district contract areas. And then we do 1% road rescue, which is mostly on the inland highway, just inside Arrington. And those numbers disappeared up top there. There's a small amount of aid outside of the city. And then some other is things like undetermined. We get a call for smoke and it's undetermined whether it's in our area or the neighboring area, and we're out looking around with our neighbors. So a few other things during the year, but 95% of our calls are inside the fire protection area. And then on the right, calls for service breakdown shows basically clustered together in areas of operations. So fires, hazardous materials, that might include everything from methyl ethyl bad stuff to carbon monoxide or natural gas, leaking fuels, those sorts of things. Fires is everything from fires in structures to brush fires, beach fires, other outdoor fires, miscellaneous garbage fires, motor vehicle fires. Burning complaints make up a lot of our call volume. So, my neighbor's burning. So we go take a look at that. Our medical is 23% of our call volumes. And you can see that MBIs are about 10%. So that's sort of the breakdown in 2024. That fluctuates a little bit, but is generally in that neighborhood. Other service that we deliver is fire and life safety inspections in what are considered to be public buildings. So any building that has public areas in it. So an apartment building, for instance, with corridors and common means of egress, assembly occupancies, and commercial properties we are required to provide fire inspection for by the Fire Safety Act of the province of British Columbia. So we're at around 840 inspectable occupancies in the city. Those vary in size from very large occupancies such as Berwick next door or the Beach Club to very small single business occupancies. So inspection times on those would be anywhere between a half hour and could be a full day depending on the size of the building. So you can see that we have around 600, somewhere between 620 and 640 or so inspections due each year. And then total inspections completed are in the mid 700s. And those include other types of inspections like re-inspections for to try to bring things into compliance or to see if things have been brought into compliance. We do fire safety plan reviews, both for new occupancies and as well as construction sites. One of the big hazards for us is when a building is stick framed and has not got any protection on it. So no exterior cladding or drywall. So we want to make sure our construction sites have strong fire safety plans in place. We also do license or inspections for business licensing, daycares, and other fire safety consultations. Another part of fire prevention is reporting. We are required to report reportable fires to the province, and there is a typo there. In 2023, it was 45, not 845. So right around 50 a year is roughly our reportable fires. So those are any unattended fire or any structure or vehicle fire where there's dollar loss or loss of life. Public education events. We do around 50 public education events a year, and you can see it's right around 400 person hours that we spend doing that. And development reviews. Again, another typo there. I must have been working hard on that. So that would be 24, not 724. So that varies depending on how many applications are coming into the city. We would comment at rezoning and development permit typically, but sometimes at subdivision and for a few other commercial type developments. Training. This is pretty typical for us. The 2024 stats, we were low just coming out of COVID. COVID changed the game a little bit in terms of what we could do and how we did things. And now we're sort of back to normal, as it were. And so you can see we have about 8,400 attendee hours, 8,500 attendee hours, 1,500 instructor hours, and our total person hours of training is around 10,000 hours a year. And that's pretty typical for us, 500 plus sessions. So in 2023, we, like I mentioned before, we had 22% increase in call volume, which was the largest I've ever seen. We implemented a new remuneration policy, mostly around the on-call folks. We implemented a compensation module in our records management system to track that. We renewed our command utility vehicles that year. The fire station project, which is rolling around, we had some demolition of some houses adjacent to the fire station in the what are now vacant lots. We renewed the automatic aid agreement with 7 partners, and we replaced our mobile data terminals. Those were sort of outside of the fire inspections and the training and the incident response. Those were the other things that the main things we were working on. 2024, we implemented extended health benefits for our volunteer on-call members. We had successful recruitment that year. We hired our 4th fire rescue service technician, which is one of the career staff. The fire station renovation planning moved through the order of magnitude portion, and we got some rough estimates there. We completed a check-in session, or I completed a check-in session interview with all our members. We completed applications to the Fire Smart and Volunteer and Composite Fire Department Equipment and Training grants through UBCM. And that year, in particular, last year, we just had a really great turnout of our members, which was noticeable. So in conclusion, I regard our service as highly effective. We have a very dedicated and motivated group of volunteer on-call and career staff over at the fire station. We're seeing steady growth, and that equates into increases in calls for service. And that is putting some more pressure on our on-call staff. So our challenges in the future, really recruiting and retention of on-call staff. We continue to have some facility pressures in terms of space and some OH&S issues. And we are seeing a large rise in or a steady set of call volumes related to, the drug issues, unhoused, and mental illness, sort of all associated with one another. So quite a few fires. We do have a couple of fire bugs in town. and quite a few drug overdoses. And just finally, I'd like to thank council for your continued support. And I would especially like to thank the members of the Parksville Fire Department, both the volunteer on-call members and our career staff for the excellent work they do in our community.
Thanks very much, Chief Norris, for your report. Been very informative as well, and certainly council's appreciation for you and your team for doing an amazing job. That's the takeaway I got right away, I think, is the biggest one, is the 22% increase in call volume. And that's already piggybacking on an increase on the year before and the year before and the year before. So that with the continued growth that Parksville has experienced right now, we know that that is a trend that will likely continue. And so thank you for working and dealing with that and coming up with possible solutions to help you with the study we have going on right now with the remediation of the existing facilities, which we're waiting for those reports. Thank you for that. And the other extra benefit I appreciate hearing about for your volunteer benefits actually includes cool helmets. And I think that's very important to identify that, because who doesn't want one of those cool helmets? So I think that's very beneficial for your recruitment. I'm going to let the floor open to council now. Thank you, Chief Norris. Councilor Martin, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Chief Norris, for your presentation. One question I had is, what are the qualifications and how do you recruit these people that come and go? You know, like, what are required?
What we require is an excellent attitude, somebody who is community and team oriented, physically fit, and there is no prerequisite other than, you know, you should be able, you have a valid driver's license and no criminal record, and a good attitude. Mostly we train from the ground up.
Okay, what about where they live? Do they have to be within a certain distance?
They have to live in the fire protection area.
Okay, thanks very much.
Councilor Grens, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you to our Fire Chief. Thank you for all the work you do and for the I feel like excellent culture you create in the fire department. And I recognize the emphasis you put on the individual's integrity and what they bring to the table personally, as opposed to not just that they can bench 220 pounds or whatever the number is. But you mentioned to this increase in service calls. Are there specific areas where we've seen a significant jump, or is it just an overall increase? And if it is in specific areas, are there ways that that can be mitigated a little bit? I imagine you're already working on that, but are there some areas that maybe would make more sense for bylaw to attend, or some other entity that doesn't require a volunteer to leave their job?
The areas that we see increases in are basically everything goes up together with the increase in the population. Areas that we work on are things like alarm reduction. So every new building, almost, whether it's a single family residence or a large apartment building, comes with some type of alarm in it now. So we get a lot of alarms calls that are not, but we have to respond to every alarms call as if it was a fire call. You could understand what would happen if we didn't. That might put the collective us at some liability. So we do work on alarm reduction. So that is one area that we work on. We do have a false alarm bylaw. The other area that we have seen an increase in are outdoor fires, certainly associated with folks that are living rough, or however you want to put that term. And along with that, we see some overdoses and things like that with the opioid issues that we have out there. We have, we advocate on that as much as we can to reduce that. In terms of things like bylaw complaints, we have 24/7 duty officers on. During the week, they're career staff, and on the weekends, they're on-call staff. And so we're not exactly always sure what the nature of a fire is, so we go out and check it when there are no, bylaw staff on working. So a lot of times people will call in and it's not, you're not really sure what the exact issue is until you get there. So there's some enforcement of bylaws and those sorts of things. Most of it is education. And when we see high forest fire activity in the province, we see our call volumes for complaints and concerns go way up.
Yeah, thank you. And that touches on maybe my follow-up or related question is whether there are any sort of recent policy changes or other factors that may have increased that call volume. And I think you point at one of them, which is maybe just generally increased awareness and concern around wildfire and maybe people being extra vigilant in calling you guys when there's a fire during a burn ban, for example.
Yeah, that's correct. And we can come out and educate folks, or sometimes they're having fires that are dangerous, and we need to take care of that. So there's a lot of different reasons, but we had some fires close to home out in the wildland. We don't have a lot of wildland per se in our fire protection area, but with the fires at Wesley Ridge and up near Port Alberni this year, it was on people's minds.
Thank you. Councillor Gore, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Fire Chief, and all the volunteers for the amazing work that you folks do. This council, as you know, has been quite supportive of the fire department. And as you know, our Councillor Wood even worked hard to get that volunteer firefighters tax credits doubled to what they were previously entitled to. A little point here I want to make about the 22% increase. And I think, I don't know, I like numbers, but I may be off here. But this is, I think, related to as compared to 2022, which was COVID. So when things were shut down, nothing was going on. Then in 2023, when things finally opened up, I think we saw more activity. So compared to 2022, 2023 saw a higher increase, which could possibly, also be the reason for the real spike in the percentage of calls. That's one guess. But my question to the fire chief is about attrition. Chief, if you can speak to the members who leave, and in your report you mentioned about 6 to 8 folks leave every year. Are those experienced members that we are losing, or are these newer members? And if there's anything that the council or the department can do to support you folks, so we have a lesser number of people leaving this, not just the department, but also this wonderful community of ours.
I think the makeup of the people leaving, most of the folks that leave are leaving, are moving. So out of, for instance, last year, we had a couple of people leave to go get full-time firefighting jobs that we didn't have. We couldn't offer them that job. So they went, this year alone, we've had 3 people leave to full-time firefighting jobs. One in Port Alberni, one in the Lower Mainland, and another in Alberta. So I don't think there's a lot we can do about that, short of giving them jobs, which I don't think is in the cards. And then we'll have a couple of people leave from every recruit class because it's hard to explain to people what it's all about, and people don't know if it fits their lifestyle without trying it out. And so people come in, they try it out, and we typically will lose 2 or 3 people out of every recruit class because it doesn't fit their lifestyle or it's not for them. And I will remind everybody that in the emergency services, this is the same service. We provide the same services as firefighters in Vancouver and Nanaimo provide. And they do it, most of our members do it off the corner of their life, kind of. and they see a lot of things that most people don't see. And they deal with a lot of things. They also get up 2 or 3 times in the middle of the night, some nights, and then go to work the next day. So that's sort of what it's all about, and that doesn't work for everybody.
Councillor Wood, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks, Chief, for the presentation. We mentioned that a few volunteers have gone on to paid jobs. What's Parksville's reputation in the firefighting business and full-time kind of career firefighting? I know there's long lineups to get those jobs. How's Parksville's reputation for the training that we give them here when they go on to those roles? Thanks.
I think the reputation is good. I think a lot of our members, we offer a full suite of training so they can get the base training that they need to go to a career department, a fully career department. But one thing that we also offer is we have a high call volume, so they get a lot of experience. So I'd say it's good.
Councillor Beal, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Chief Norris. I appreciate, as always, your thoughts and your presentation. I have a couple of questions. One, 3 actually. One, are there times when a full fire truck doesn't necessarily go out, but it's just one truck, be it yourself or someone else is on staff? And is there if that is the case, is there do you keep track of when it takes a full crew or when it just takes one or 2 individuals?
Yeah, so the stat around, burning complaints and those sorts of things, that would be typically one person going out. So that's about 15% of the calls. For most other things, we're dispatching at least a crew of a minimum of 4 people to deal with whatever it is. And that's, we have a response guideline that tells us if we're going to send 1 truck or 3 trucks or what we're going to send initially, so that if we get there and we find that the situation is indeed emergent, which they sometimes are, we have the right amount of resources to deal with that. So for instance, we would send a different set of equipment to a vehicle fire, and we'd send more equipment to a structure fire. Yeah.
Go ahead, Councillor Beal.
Thank you. I appreciate that information. I know that in the past, when you have come forward, there has been talk about the need for, concern for mental health, trauma, post-trauma, et cetera. As you mentioned, people in your line of work do see things that, many of us are very thankful that we don't have to deal with. I'm just curious, you mentioned check-in interviews. Is that something that's related to efforts to address and take care of mental health for the firefighters?
So the check-in interviews that I referred to are not strictly about mental health, although folks can certainly talk about that. What I meant there was every couple of years, I try to sit down with every member of the department and just see how things are going, and get their one-on-one feedback. And if things like provisions for mental health or fitness or anything else come up, that's what I'm there for, is to listen to that and consider those things. One of the things we do in terms of mental health is we have an annual mental health check-in that we offer our members. It's not mandatory, but they have an opportunity to sit with a counselor once a year and just do kind of a, it's like taking your vehicle to the mechanic and just doing a check-in and seeing if seeing how people are doing. And then, they can take it from there. We also have, mental health resources available to us through WorkSafe if we need to immediately after an incident. We also have our counselor is available to offer mental health counseling, and we will offer that to our members if they need it. And so I think as well as we publish a mental health handbook for our members, so they have it and their family has it.
Roll up, go ahead.
Thank you very much. I have one other question, and it is related to wildfire mitigation, I suppose, and Fire Smart programs. I did notice Fire Smart in your in the PowerPoint, but is wildfire prevention or interface, et cetera, is that something that your department deals with, or is that more on the provincial level? I understand that there is someone who can manage a program here, and perhaps neighborhoods or organizations could access. Can you speak a bit to that?
Yeah, well, the first thing I would say about FireSmart is, FireSmart, the most important thing about FireSmart is people need to take responsibility for their own properties. That's the number one thing about FireSmart is if you follow the FireSmart protocols on your property stands a pretty good chance of being there if a fire were to come through. What I can comment on is we are much more an urban location than we are a rural location. We have a few areas where, what I would consider to be intermixed. So, you have houses with trees around, but we have very little large contiguous forest that is around properties that is inaccessible to us. So a lot of it we can get to very quickly. And so fires stay small. It's a different story when the fire starts in the wildland, like on a very steep slope by Wesley Ridge and burns around the corner underneath a few houses that are up on the top of the ridge. We have very little topography such as that. So from my perspective, the most important thing people can do is take care of their own properties, use those Fire Smart principles to Fire Smart their homes and their yards, and that will reduce. We see way more fires from people, lighting their hedge on fire with a tiger torch, trying to burn weeds every year than we do major brush fires. We go to several brush fires every year, but most of them are kept really small. From a combination of the area that a brush is not that big, and we're very urban, and we're also very close, so we're very quick to get there. Of note, we did receive a Fire Smart grant last year, and our community wildfire resiliency plan is being updated currently, and we expect that sort of near the end of or sort of midway through 2026. As well as we have some funding to undertake Fire Smart initiatives throughout the city of Parksville. There is a bit of nuance to it because we are not able to apply for the RDN areas. So we have to work with the RDN, with their Fire Smart coordinator in our contract areas of the RDN to provide Fire Smart out there. So we do that.
Thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I forgot to ask you about this. This fall, you do an annual event. It's with the Salvation Army, where there's fundraising and drive for food and all that. The fire department's involved in that. Can you explain that, please? Thank you.
Yes, since the late 90s, we've been involved in what we used to call the food drive, and now it's referred to as Boots for Food. It's a fundraiser in support of the Salvation Army Food Bank and the SOS Christmas Toy Drive. And every year in mid-November, our membership, our association, through their charitable and fundraising committee, support that. And it's, raises up to about $90,000 a year, with big help from the folks in Craig Bay.
Our community where I live, they have so many pounds of food go out every week, and the dollars are there. It's already this little thing, how much money we have so far. It's kind of amazing. Everyone is in there. A friend of mine, she picks that food up on Tuesday afternoon, takes it to the Salvation Army. And that's all to do with you folks.
Thank you. I just had a question for first. Chief Norris, well, I noticed this year during the burn ban season, during the summer, you had your very effective fireworks and camp beach fire sign up near Reserve Drive. And in my own personal observations, is this seems to be one of the best I've seen in recent times when there's been less illegal use of fireworks and actually campfires that have gotten out of control on the beach. Am I right, or were you just getting them out before I actually noticed them? Because it seemed to make quite a difference. And I was going to ask you, did you also have an opportunity for your department actually to visit the individual resorts and suggest that maybe they should make sure their guests knew that fireworks were banned and campfires on the beach were also banned as well? Because I think you're making a difference and people are getting the message is what I'm getting at. So I'm just, if you could advise what you could attribute that to, or my observation points lacking?
I don't have a ton of data. We didn't receive as many calls for fireworks this year. Unfortunately, because of the way the city boundaries work, we have a commercial property that sells fireworks just outside the resort area. That's not within the city. In direct conflict with the, that's in conflict with the city prohibition on consumer fireworks. And so folks were buying fireworks there and then going into the city and setting them off. One of the issues with fireworks is two things we find. One is they're either out and done and there's nothing when we get there, so we can't tell, or there's a fire. And I've been to structure fires over the years and brush fires and all sorts of things started by fireworks. So, just anecdotally though, I think the sign helped a lot. And to your question about do we go and visit the resorts, typically at when the fire ban goes on each year, we go and visit each one of the resorts, drop off the fire ban notice and remind them of, policies such as the fireworks ban and fire bans. Answer any of their questions. And hopefully between that little piece of education and the sign, we mitigate most of that issue.
Great. And once again, to the fact that it's the property owners to have some responsibility here, personal responsibility for the properties, whether they're managing a very large property or their own. It's up to them to actually observe it and make sure that their guests or visitors are also observing it. So thank you for that, Chief Norris. Councillor Gore, you had your hand up.
Thank you, Mayor. Chief, I have another question about the pie chart that you presented about the types of calls. I know a big percentage of it, about 23%, was medical calls. And you might be aware that the City of Port Alberni Fire Department has decided not to respond to medical calls. I don't know if that policy has been implemented or not. I was wondering if fire departments such as ours are having those conversations to go that route as Port Alberni did. The reason I ask that is there is so much of offloading from the province for us to take on these responsibilities. And as a volunteer fire department, you're already stretched thin. And perhaps with the new law that they passed about the emergency and disaster management, I'm guessing your role even becomes more involved in such activities. So just wondering about what the sort of talk is between the fire departments about not responding to medical emergencies, or perhaps giving it back to the province to fund the EMS properly so we can have a proper medical attendance to these events. Thank you.
I'm not specifically familiar with at what level, if Port Alberni is withdrawing their services fully, or if they're just changing the level as to which medical calls they respond to. So I would have to look into that. It would surprise me if they weren't responding at all. However, we respond, there is a multi-tiered response system that BC Ambulance has. We respond to only what's called purple, or the most serious incidents. And that is still a large amount of our call volume. We declined the next level down, which are called reds, and we declined 1,050 calls last year for reds. So we would be going to 1,050 calls more if we went to the next level down in our area. I think I understand your point about offsetting what is a provincial service. I think there's a balance. I think we are a community service. We are the City of Parksville's fire rescue service and the Parksville Fire Protection's rescue service. And it would be hard for me to not respond to a neighbor's medical emergency if it was very, very acute and serious. It would be hard for me to justify that. I would only change that at the direction of council. Having said that, I think we go to the right calls. We go to cardiac arrests and we go to strokes and we go to the calls where we have a chance of making a difference. And so I think we go to the right level of calls right now. I would never suggest us going to the next level of calls. I don't think we could do it operationally. And I don't think, and there is an ambulance service that's there for that. We do also go to medical calls when the ambulance is not available. So if that next level of call, that red call, if the ambulance is in Nanaimo or all the ambulances are in Nanaimo, as they often are, we will occasionally go to those calls. And the third type of call that we go to back up the ambulance service is a call where they need assistance. So they're moving a large patient, they need an extra set of hands, whatever. There's a myriad of reasons they need access to a building. We need to put up a ladder and climb through a window, whatever, that sort of thing is where we work with each other. We also regard the ambulance service as partners in emergency services, just as we would for the RCMP.
Thank you.
So if I may, could you clarify that does the fire department ever provide patient transfer services if there is no ambulance available?
We are not equipped, licensed, or trained to provide transport.
Yeah, thanks for that reply, Chief Norris, and I will defer to your judgment on what calls you go to and continue doing what you're doing because you're doing a great job. You're well respected by our community, I can tell you right now. So thank you for that. Any other questions or comments? Go ahead, Councillor Wood.
Thanks, Mayor. Just to quickly follow up on Councillor Gore's question, I did work with the fire chief on a resolution that speaks to the province kind of using community fire departments as a backstop for where they may be dropping the ball on the ambulance service that they're supposed to be providing all the time. I think BCAS can be funded better and have more personnel and more cars. And so that's where we find our fire departments sometimes filling in the gap, which to the chief's comments, it'd be really tough for us to get that next level of medical calls into our system without really taxing our department. So that did go to EBCM in, I think, 2024 from the Regional District of Nanaimo. And I'm not sure what the province's response is yet. I could look it up, but the province is having financial issues all over the place. So we haven't seen any advancement on the provincial side about that. Thanks.
Frankly, business as usual. Thank you. I see no further questions or comments. Chief Norris, thank you again for your report. Well done. And continue to express our appreciation to all of your team that make this happen. You're doing an amazing job. And congratulations again as your 35 years of service. Yeah, 35 years and another month. Way to go. We're glad to have you. Thank you. Council, we have next on our agenda today is bylaws for 3 readings. The Fees and Charges Amendment Bylaw 2025 number 1515.7. Amendment to include electric vehicle charging fees as well as the option for development applications to pay the cost of alternate delivery for providing notice in the event of a public mail service disruption. Mover seconder for the recommendations. Moved by Councillor Grens, seconded by Councillor Martin. Any discussion? Councillor Gore, go ahead.
Yes, just thank you, Mayor. I quickly want to mention that I want to thank staff for using sort of a norm that's out there for the charging fee. I think that's consistent with what Nanaimo is doing and what Qualicum Beach is doing. So I was quite pleased to see that. Thank you.
That's right. Yes. Thank you. Any further comments, discussion? All those in favor? Those opposed? Thank you. That is unanimous. Thank you. Moving on to notices of motion. Any notices of motion coming up for the next meeting? Seeing none, I will go on to liaison reports. Councillor Beal, start us off if you would, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, I do have a couple. First of all, I'd like to mention the ELCO, which is early learning childcare Oceanside. And I actually wasn't able to attend the most recent meeting. However, there is something that I would like to share with people here, and that is going back to the group as a whole spends a lot of energy on advocacy and also has worked on a report looking at the state of childcare in the area. I think it goes quite well with the state of the child and youth in the Oceanside area, which has also recently been published. But a particular interest is that one can go to sites for a $10 a day childcare website, and you can get access then to other data that has been produced. And that information can also, you can drill right down to get this particular school district. And of note for the Qualicum School District, so it's larger than Parksville per se, is the significant need for childcare options for school-age children. So when they talk about universal access, that there are adequate quality spaces for childcare for infant and toddler, we're sitting at about 31%, and as opposed to aiming for at least 45%. The 3 to 5 year old is actually generally well covered in our area, but for school-age children, we're at 14%. So what that means is only 14% of the need is actually covered by quality daycare spaces. So that's a significant need. And that has a big impact, not only for those children, but also for parents who might not be choosing to work outside the home because of the lack of childcare. And this impacts then, of course, the income for those families, as well as it affects our economics in the area. So I thought that was worth sharing. There's no question. I'll move on. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, the Community Arts Council, I'd just like to mention a couple of things. One is actually outside the Mac Garden, the art garden, which is adjacent to the art gallery. We'll be having a pumpkin carving event October 26th. So if anyone wants to go down and see what that's like, or if you have children or know of children who might like to do that, there will be pumpkins there and people can take part. They might need to pre-register, so actually check the website and see what that's like. Also, fundraising, I think, is a common theme for any of our volunteer organizations, and the Arts Council is no different. The MAC, the Macmillan Arts Center, is certainly an aging building, and it is well over 100 years old. So they are embarking on a number of fundraising events to hopefully eventually repair the roof or replace the roof. They need new windows and also painting. So all of those things, you'll be seeing those both in local paper and if you check the website or go to events. So there are lots of opportunities and there's a real need there. Moving along to the Beach Festival Society recently, and it was great to see Councillor Martin there as well, that the society was able to distribute checks from the proceeds of the sand sculpting and Beach Fest this year. So that was a wonderful event, lots of smiles, and all those organizations, there were 24 and 25, I think, who who did receive some proceeds of that. And each one of them, when they got up, did speak a little bit about what the particular organization does. So that was a really positive event. There was a meeting held just recently, and of course, work is well underway, both in debriefing and looking at this year's event and what needs to be adjusted or tweaked, any outstanding issues, working with the city because there are things that need to be settled there, as well as starting to plan for next year's event. So that's all in good hands. And finally, I would like to mention about the library. And for the councillors, you do have an I love my library button there. October is a Canadian I love my library month. So you each get a button for that. And I have 3 extras if people in the audience might like one. And also tomorrow, the 21st, will mark the first day of the new hours for the library. So in our case, the library will continue to open at 10 a.m. It will close at 6 p.m. daily, with the exception of Wednesday, it will be open until 7 p.m. So that is a bit of a change for some of the evening hours, but the hours are actually longer for some of the days, 6 o'clock, including Sunday, including Monday. It used to close at 5. So that goes into effect tomorrow. And if anyone has any questions, I'm right here.
Thank you, Councillor Beal. Moving forward to Councillor Wood. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Beal. I was using the Vancouver Island Regional Library website this week to get Rob Shaw's book, A Matter of Confidence, on its way. My little update is just about Union and BC municipalities, which most of us attended. And to Councillor Gore's question about community fire departments backing up BC EHS, I found the response from the ministry of the resolution that we passed as a UBCM membership group last year, and the province's response. They kind of just go on about the numbers that they spend on BC EHS in their response. I won't read it out. It's kind of 5 paragraphs, but I can send it out to council. They don't really say anything specific in their response besides, quote, the budget numbers that they spend on BC EHS. So that's really how the province responded to that one, which brings me to what I wanted to mention today, that the city of Parksville brought, a variety of councillors and mayors brought 4 resolutions to UBCM this year. And I just wanted to kind of quickly go over them. One was EB 13, which was mental health and addictions resources for youth. Councillor Martin worked really hard on that one, and we presented it to the provincial government in a group of quite a few people in the room. We don't have any responses for these 4 yet. We have to wait for a little while. Usually they come in kind of December, January. The province will get back to UBCM with responses on these. That was passed, endorsed by the delegation, by the delegates at the convention. EB 53, which was Sustainable Growing Communities Fund. And I believe that is where we were asking for ongoing reliable funding for local governments from the province. That was also endorsed at UBCM convention. EB 77, provincial consultation on legislative changes from the city of Parksville. That was endorsed at the convention. And then finally, NR 30, which was supporting climate resilient and infrastructure ready housing targets, also from the city of Parksville. And that was also endorsed. So of the 4 resolutions that City of Parksville brought down to UBCM, all 4 were endorsed by the delegates, which is encouraging. I do want to mention that doesn't necessarily mean that the province will act on them, but it is, bringing these resolutions to the province to have a look at. So when they're looking for ideas and they have money they want to spend down at Victoria, they don't really have any reasons to not, spend the money on some of these things. So I just want to kind of sum up that from UBCM. Thanks, Mayor. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Councillor Wood. Thank you. Councillor Martin. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, thank you, Councillor Wood, because the delegation for the mental health and addiction for the 18 to 28-year-olds was well received. And I've got a correspondence going back with MLA Higgins and working on that. So that's a good follow-up. for UBCM. I wanted to mention a couple of things here. The Parksville Museum is a thriving little place, I'll tell you. It's just a hopping. Saturday night, I was there at the Gershwin Strings event, and it was sold out. And then they had it was terrific. What it is these people, not just the Gershwin, it was a group from Victoria that came out for the evening. I understand that people ask to come to the museum now. So that they have people that are wanting to come. They have a music committee, but they have people that want to come. So it's kind of a moving thing. Why I was mentioning that is that it was in the news about these venues for small groups of, say, 60, 70, 80 people are not available. They need more of them. They have the big venues for the bands, but they need more of what we have at the museum and smaller events like at the MAC. And I thought that was the thing that was in the news just recently that kind of lends to what's going on here. So there'll be lots more happening. Just this Saturday, there's Halloween coming, as you know, we see it around everywhere. They're having a Witchville Thrill, and it goes from 5 to 8 p.m. Saturday. Live music with wood sticks, not Woodstock, and treats, and a food truck will be there. It'll be a fun event. It'll be really good. So, and it's by donation. There's no charge, but bring the children. This is a place to have the children, right? Also, Jane Seabury, she's the next event coming, and she's just been given, it's on the 24th of November, and I'm going to be mentioning this a few times. She's got just got the Canadian Songwriters Hall of Fame last week. So this is a high profile person who's coming right to Parksville. Like someone said we should be charging more than $40, but that's a big deal. It's right in our backyard, and it's kind of a neat thing to have. I've made a decision to, how Christmas comes and things are happening and all this, that I will be, local, like, shop Canada, shop local, really. And so I was going to mention that. Coming to that was Christmas shopping. And this ties into the Downtown Parksville Business Association. This book is at the museum. It is an amazing book. In fact, I'm going to go buy some more for Christmas. I give it to people, but I was thinking this would be very good for mine. This is my library friend across the way, Councillor Beal, that this book could be used with young children, having them understand about the different streets and everything in Parksville, because it's all about all the different families and the streets are all named. So I think that would be a great thing. I'm going to give it to my nephew my great nephews. They're 5 years old. They come here all the time from out of town, but they will now learn about this book. So, and I think that's all.
Councillor Martin, if I can interrupt,
Yes.
with my pending age, I can't quite see the name of the book.
Oh, Marjorie, this is a Parksville, and then some, and it's been updated many times. Marjorie Leffley's book, and it's for sale. The museum is only closed on Tuesday and Wednesday, so open every day for Christmas shopping. From 12 to 4.
And
So
it's just called Parksville.
it's about Parksville and all the different founding families. I mean, I keep it for referral. Every founding family in there. I have one at home, and I've given lots of them for gifts. And they're a great thing for Christmas shopping for young families too, I think so. And also the MAC has Christmas shopping. And that goes to my next mention is Downtown Business Association, because shop local, do everything local. And I will say that because why not? It's right here. We don't have to go anywhere. And it's all here with all the things that go on in our community. So I just wanted to share that. That's all for today.
Great. Thanks, Councillor Martin.
Thank you.
I appreciate the shop local.
Yeah.
I really
Yeah.
do. Any other liaison or items of interest that any council member wants to bring up? Okay. Council, I'm going to ask for a mover or seconder for adjournment. That would be moved by Councillor Wood, seconded by Councillor Beal. All those in favor? Carries unanimous. Thank you, council. Thank you for those in attendance for blessing us. Thank you. Thank you for the library badge.
I think I forgot to mention one thing. The pumpkin